The moment Jade walked into the restaurant's reception area, everyone froze. A woman in diamonds stopped mid-sentence, her champagne glass hovering inches from her lips. A waiter carrying a silver tray did a double-take so hard he nearly dropped everything. Two men in $1,000 suits turned to stare with their mouths hanging open like they'd never seen a human being before. Jade ignored all of them. She walked through that reception area like she owned the place. Head high, each shoulders back, plastic jewelry clicking with every step. And what a sight she was. The wig on her head looked like a rainbow had a fight with a cotton candy machine, and both of them lost. Pink, blue, green, yellow. Synthetic strands tangled and frizzy, sticking out at angles that defied physics and good taste. Her top was a bright pink Barbie crop shirt, the kind meant for a 12-year-old, stretched tight across her chest, riding up every time she breathed. Her pants were rainbow-striped, loud, clashing with the wig in a way that probably violated several fashion laws. Chunky plastic bracelets, oversized hoop earrings, makeup applied like she'd done it blindfolded. Foundation 3 shades too light for her beautiful dark brown skin, blush like war paint, lipstick deliberately smeared across her teeth. She looked like a walking disaster. And that was exactly the plan. One of the hostess at the front podium had the kind of smile that was held together by professionalism and pure willpower. Her left eye twitched as Jade approached. "Good evening," the hostess managed. "Do you have a reservation?" Jade popped her gum. The sound echoed through the elegant space like a gunshot. "Yeah." Pop. "Meeting someone." Pop, pop. "Theo Max?" The hostess's eyebrows climbed toward her hairline. "Theo? Max? You hard of hearing?" Jade popped another bubble. "Theo Max. Oh, that's what I said." The hostess looked Jade up and down, then up again. Her smile tightened until it looked painful. "Right this way, miss." Jade followed her into the restaurant. The signature room sat 95 floors above the streets of Chicago, perched at the top of 875 North Michigan Avenue. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, Lake Michigan stretched out like black silk under the night sky. The city sparkled below like someone had scattered diamonds across velvet. Like crystal chandeliers dripped light onto white tablecloths. Soft jazz floated through the air. The clink of expensive silverware mixed with the murmur of wealthy people discussing wealthy things. And every single one of them was staring at Jade. She let her plastic jewelry clack extra loud. Let her cheap shoes squeak against the polished floor. A woman at a nearby table actually clutched her pearls. Literally clutched them, like Jade might snatch them off her neck. Good. Let them stare. She scanned the room and spotted a man sitting alone in a corner booth. Average height, average build, forgettable face. He was scrolling through his phone with the energy of someone who would rather be anywhere else. That had to be him. Pearl had described this guy as probably boring and some tech nerd. This man looked like he'd never had an interesting thought in his life. Jade changed direction and strutted toward his table. "Mr. Theo?" she asked. It loud enough for half the restaurant to hear. The man looked up. Confusion crossed his face. "No, I'm not. That would be me." The voice came from behind her. Deep, smooth. The kind of voice that wrapped around you like smoke and made you forget what you were thinking. Jade turned around, and every thought in her head evaporated. He stood a few feet away, having just risen from a table she'd walked right past without noticing. How had she missed him? How had anyone in this room been looking at anything else? He was tall, not just tall, commanding, at least 6'4", with shoulders broad enough to block out the window behind him. His body was built like he spent serious time in the gym but didn't need to announce it. Powerful, controlled, the kind of build that came from discipline, not vanity. His skin was deep brown and flawless, catching the candlelight like he was made of something richer than ordinary flesh. His hair was cut low and precise, lined up with the kind of perfection that spoke of a barber who knew exactly what he was doing. A well-groomed mustache framed full lips that looked soft despite the hard set of his jaw. Sideburns connected to a neat beard that had just a touch of gray threaded through it. Not a lot of gray, just a hint, just enough to catch the light. Jade's brain tried to calculate his age and short-circuited. He couldn't be more than early 30s, late 20s even. Her cousin Marcus had started graying at 21. Some men just did that. But on this man, that silver didn't age him. It made him look like the kind of man who had lived, who had stories, who had done things that would make lesser men tremble. He wore a charcoal suit that fit him like it had been sewn directly onto his body. No tie, top button undone, just enough casual to make the formality feel like a choice rather than a requirement. And his eyes. Lord, his eyes. Dark as midnight, as intense as a spotlight. They swept over Jade from the rainbow wig to the Barbie shirt to the striped pants, and something in them sparked. Not disgust, not confusion. Interest. The kind of interest a cat shows right before it plays with its food. And those sideburns. Lord have mercy, those sideburns. Jade was a sucker for sideburns. Had been since she was old enough to notice men. Something about them just did something to her brain. Focus, focus, $5,000. At Kendrick's tuition, the bills on the counter. Make this man hate her. Jade forced her lips into a wide grin, making sure to show off every bit of the lipstick she'd smeared across her teeth. Oh! She let out a laugh that was way too loud. A couple at the next table flinched. I'm Pearl DeAndre. Nice to meet you. She stuck out her hand and pumped his in an aggressive handshake before he could react. His hand was warm, large, strong, calloused in interesting places. The kind of hand that... Focus. Pearl, he repeated. Something flickered across his face, there and gone so fast she almost missed it. The pleasure is mine. I'm Theo. His voice was like velvet poured over gravel, smooth and rough at the same time. Great, great, great. Jade pulled her hand back and rubbed her palms together. So, should we sit? Let's sit. I'm starving. She didn't wait for him to pull out her chair. She stomped over to the table and plopped herself down with zero grace. Her plastic jewelry clattered against the table. She threw her oversized knockoff purse onto the pristine white tablecloth, knocking over a small vase of flowers. Oops. She didn't pick it up. Theo righted the vase calmly. Then he sat down across from her, his movements smooth and unhurried, like nothing she did could rattle him. I'm sorry, he said, and even those simple words sounded like music. I should have been watching for you. Jade's brain screamed at her as she shrugged. Yeah, you should have, but we're here now, aren't we? This was not the boring tech nerd Pearl had described. This was not probably dry as toast. This man was a problem. This man was dangerous. So, Pearl, he leaned back in his chair, completely at ease. Tell me about yourself. I go to Paris for my vacation like every month. My daddy has a private jet. She was making things up now, riffing off what little she knew about Pearl's life. I'm actually so tired of Paris. Like, the Eiffel Tower is so boring now. I've seen it like 100 times. Theo was quiet for a moment. His dark eyes tracked her face with an intensity that made her want to squirm. You seem very worldly, he finally said. Obviously. Jade burped, loudly. A woman at the next table gasped. Oh, excuse me, I'm super gassy tonight, just warning you, it's gonna be like this all evening. She waited for him to excuse himself, to suddenly remember a phone call he had to make, and to invent any reason to leave. But Theo just picked up his glass of water and took a slow sip. I appreciate the warning, he said. What the hell was wrong with this man? Jade decided to escalate. You know what? She stretched her arms above her head dramatically. My feet are killing me in these shoes. Do you mind? Before he could answer, she swung her legs up and dropped her feet directly on the white tablecloth, right next to the bread basket, right in front of Theo's face. The smell hit the air immediately. Before coming to this date, Jade had soaked her feet in the water left over from last night's dishwashing. Greasy, grimy, tinged with old food particles. She'd let them marinate for a good 30 minutes, then slipped on some cheap plastic sandals to trap in the aroma. The result was potent. She saw Theo's nostrils flare, saw his eyes drop to the crusty toes on his pristine white tablecloth. At the next table, a woman made a choking sound. Her husband flagged down a waiter and whispered urgently, gesturing for a different table. Across the restaurant, the hostess closed her eyes like she was praying for strength. Jade wiggled her toes. Much better, she sighed. These sandals were not made for walking. She watched Theo's face carefully, waiting for the disgust, the excuse, the escape. He was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled. A real smile. Slow and deliberate. It started at the corner of his mouth and spread until it reached his eyes, crinkling them at the corners. And something in that smile made Jade's heart skip. It wasn't disgust. It wasn't even tolerance. It was amusement, like she was the most entertaining thing he'd seen in years. "You're full of surprises, Pearl," he said softly. He reached out and calmly moved the bread basket away from her feet. Then he signaled the waiter for a fresh napkin and dabbed at a spot of imaginary dirt on the tablecloth. Then he leaned back in his chair, crossed one long leg over the other, and looked at her with those knowing eyes. "Tell me more about yourself," he said. "I have a feeling we're just getting started." Jade's confident act faltered for just a second. Why wasn't he leaving? Why wasn't he running for the hills like any normal man would? Why was he looking at her like he was enjoying this? Y'all, stop. We need to pause here for a second. Jade just put her dishwater feet on this man's table in a 5-star restaurant, with the crusty toes and the smell and everything. And this man, this fine, well-dressed, clearly rich man, just smiled at her like she was giving him the best entertainment of his life. What is happening? If you think Theo is crazy for staying, comment, "This man is insane." But if you think he knows something Jade doesn't, comment, "He's playing her." Now smash that like button and let's get back to the chaos. 3 days earlier, Englewood, Chicago. Let's go back to where it all started. Jade sat on the worn couch in her small apartment, surrounded by makeup palettes, brushes, and foundation samples. The apartment was tiny. 2 cramped bedrooms that were really more like large closets. A kitchen so small you could stand in the middle and touch both walls. A bathroom with a shower that only gave hot water if you performed some kind of prayer ritual first. Water stains on the ceiling. Worn carpet that had seen better decades. A radiator that clanked like it was fighting for its life every night. But it was home. Jade had lived here her whole life. First with her mama and her little brother Kendrick. Now just with Kendrick, ever since Mama passed 8 months ago. Cancer. Stage 4. By the time they caught it, there was nothing anyone could do. Jade didn't like thinking about it, so she focused on what she could control. Right now, that meant finishing this makeup order. A bride had hired Jade to create custom foundation shades for her wedding party. 12 bridesmaids, all different skin tones, all different undertones. The job paid $300, enough to cover groceries for 2 weeks if she was careful. This was what Jade loved: creating, mixing, matching, making people feel beautiful in their own skin. She dreamed of having her own makeup line someday, her name on products in Sephora, her own studio with good lighting and fancy chairs, maybe even a YouTube channel where she taught other girls how to do what she did. But dreams cost money, and money was something Jade never seemed to have enough of. She glanced at the kitchen counter. A stack of envelopes sat there waiting. Electric bill, past due, water bill, final notice, on credit card statement that she'd stopped opening because the numbers just made her want to cry. And on the refrigerator, held up by a magnet that said "Blessed," was Kendrick's tuition notice from University of Illinois, Chicago. $4,500 due in 3 weeks. Kendrick was 19, smart as a whip, studying computer science because he wanted to build apps and make games and do all the tech stuff that Jade didn't understand but knew was important. He was the future, the hope. And if the reason Jade worked 3 jobs and slept 4 hours a night, his financial aid covered most of his tuition, but not all of it. And the gap was more than Jade could fill. She tried not to panic about it. Panic didn't pay bills. Her phone buzzed. Jade glanced at the screen and smiled for the first time all day. Pearl DeAndre. Pearl was Jade's best friend. Had been since they met in high school, on when Pearl transferred in from some fancy private school because her parents thought she needed to experience diversity, or whatever rich people called it when they sent their kids to public school for a semester. They were an unlikely pair. Jade, from the South Side, raised by a single mama who worked double shifts at a hospital until the hospital became her second home for a different reason. Pearl, from the Gold Coast, raised by a hotel dynasty with more money than some small countries. But Pearl had never treated Jade like she was less, never looked down on her, never made her feel small or pitiful. When Mama got sick, Pearl had been there. When Mama died, Pearl had paid for half the funeral without being asked and had never mentioned it again. Pearl was dramatic, spoiled, used to getting whatever she wanted whenever she wanted it. But she was also real. And in Jade's experience, that was rare. Jade picked up the phone. "Hey girl, I'm in the middle of an order. What's up?" "Jade." Pearl's voice came through tight, almost panicked. "I need your help." Jade set down her mixing spatula. Pearl used that tone maybe twice a year, usually when her credit cards got declined or her latest boyfriend turned out to be trash. "What happened? Your daddy cut off the cards again?" "Worse." Pearl let out a groan that could probably be heard 3 states away. "My parents set me up on another blind date." Jade rolled her eyes so hard she saw the back of her skull. "No, so go. Get a free fancy dinner. Eat some expensive steak. What's the problem?" "The problem is I cannot with these men anymore." Pearl's voice rose to a pitch that made Jade pull the phone away from her ear. "They're all the same, Jade. All of them. Boring. Stuffy. Talking about golf and investments and how their startup is going to revolutionize whatever industry they're pretending to care about. Pearl, and my parents won't stop. They keep saying I'm getting too old to be single. That I need to settle down and start thinking about the future of the DeAndre name." Pearl made a gagging sound. "I'm 27. I'm not old. I'm in my prime." Okay, okay. Jade rubbed her temple. "But what does this have to do with me?" Silence. A long, suspicious silence. "Pearl, I need you to go in my place." Jade's hand froze halfway to her palate. "Excuse me?" "Just hear me out." Pearl's words tumbled over each other. "You go to the date. You pretend to be me. You act so awful, so terrible, so completely disgusting that this man runs screaming and never wants to see me again. Problem solved. My parents give up. I'm free." "Girl," Jade laughed in disbelief, "you have completely lost your mind." "I'll pay you." Jade's laughter died. "What?" $5,000. The number hit Jade like a punch to the chest. $5,000. That was Kendrick's entire tuition gap. That was 3 months of rent. That was breathing room she hadn't had since the day Mama took her last breath. "You still there?" Pearl asked quietly. "I'm thinking." And she was. Her practical side was already running the numbers. $5,000 for one dinner? For acting rude to some boring rich guy she'd never see again in her life? It was crazy. It was also exactly what she needed. Please, Jade. Pearl's voice softened. You're my only real friend. Jade closed her eyes. So Pearl had been there when it mattered, had shown up at 3 in the morning when the hospital called, had held Jade while she cried at the funeral, had slipped a check into her purse and pretended she hadn't when Jade noticed. She owed Pearl. And God, she needed that money. What exactly would I have to do? Jade asked slowly. Yes! Pearl squealed so loud that Jade actually dropped the phone. Okay, listen. Just show up. Be the worst date this man has ever had in his life. Be rude. And be gross. Be the kind of woman that makes a man want to delete every dating app and become a monk. And you're absolutely sure he doesn't know what you look like? Positive. Our family's arranged everything, but we've never actually met. He's some tech guy, owns a company or whatever. Pearl made a dismissive sound. My mother says he's an excellent match, which means he's probably boring enough to put a cup of coffee to sleep. What's his name? Papers rustled on Pearl's end. Artheo Max. Max Industries? I didn't really pay attention. Just make him hate you and we're golden. Jade looked at the tuition notice on her fridge, looked at the stack of bills on the counter, looked at the makeup samples spread across her coffee table, her little side business that she dreamed of growing into something real someday. Okay, she said, I'll do it. I love you, Pearl screamed. Gay, and don't worry about what to wear. I'll send over something from my closet. Actually, an idea was forming in Jade's mind. A terrible, beautiful idea. I have something else in mind. What do you mean? You want me to scare this guy off, right? Really make sure he never calls? Yes, definitely, 100%. Jade grinned. Then let me handle the outfit. Trust me. By the time I'm done with him, he won't just never call you. He'll probably need therapy. Now you know how Jade ended up looking like a rainbow disaster in the fanciest restaurant in Chicago. Let's get back to the chaos. Where were we? Oh, yes. Theo Max had just smiled at Jade's crusty feet like they were the most charming things he'd ever seen. Something was very wrong with this man. Jade stared at Theo, trying to figure out his angle. Why wasn't he leaving? Why wasn't he making excuses? And any normal man would have been halfway to the elevator by now. But Theo just sat there, relaxed and comfortable, watching her with those knowing dark eyes. So, Pearl, he said smoothly, tell me about yourself. Time to make him regret asking. What's there to tell? Jade grabbed a bread roll and took an enormous bite, chewing with her mouth wide open. Crumbs sprayed across the table. I'm rich. I'm fabulous. I do whatever I want, whenever I want. Is that so? Yup. She chewed loudly. I'm basically the most amazing person you'll ever meet. Ask anyone. I don't doubt it. A waiter appeared at their table. Young guy, Latino, with the expression of someone questioning every life choice that led to this moment. Good evening, he said weakly. Can I start you off with some drinks? Jade snapped her fingers at him. Yeah, we want champagne, the most expensive one you have. The waiter blinked. The Krug Clos d'Ambonnet? Oh, that's $4,000 a bottle. Did I stutter? Jade rolled her eyes dramatically. Bring it. She turned to Theo with a pointed look. You are paying, right? Because if you can't afford $4,000 for a bottle of champagne... She looked him up and down with exaggerated disappointment. Then I don't know why I'm even here. I only date men who can keep up with my lifestyle. Something flickered in Theo's eyes. Amusement? Recognition? She couldn't tell. I think I can manage, he said dryly. Good, because I have standards. She sniffed haughtily. Very high standards. The men who try to date me? The line could stretch from here to Paris. To Paris? Yes, Paris, France, maybe even longer, maybe to, Switzerland or something. The waiter returned with the champagne, handling the bottle like it contained liquid gold, which, at that price, it basically did. He poured 2 glasses with reverent precision. The moment he walked away, Jade grabbed her glass eagerly. This was it, her first taste of champagne. Real, expensive, fancy champagne. The kind she'd only ever seen in movies, in music videos, in the lives of people who existed in a completely different universe. She'd always imagined it would taste like liquid magic, like bubbles made of starlight, like everything good and beautiful in the world. She took a big sip and almost spit it out. It was sour, fizzy in an aggressive way. It hit the back of her throat and made her want to cough. There was a weird aftertaste that she couldn't place. This was what rich people got excited about? This? But she couldn't let Theo see her disappointment. Couldn't let him know that she, Pearl DeAndre, hotel heiress, had never actually tasted champagne before. Jade forced her face into a look of snooty displeasure. She swirled the glass like she'd seen people do in movies. It's okay, I guess. Theo raised an eyebrow. Just okay? That's one of the finest champagnes in the world. Maybe for regular people. Jade took another sip, fighting to keep her face neutral. But it's not as good as what I import. You import champagne? Obviously. I have a guy in France. He makes custom batches just for me. She waved her hand dismissively. This is like grocery store champagne compared to what I'm used to. Theo's lips twitched. I see. It's fine, though. Jade grabbed the bottle and refilled her glass. Might as well drink more. He was paying $4,000 for it. Not everyone can afford the good stuff. I don't judge. How generous of you. She couldn't tell if he was being sarcastic. His face gave away nothing. Time to keep going. Keep pushing. Eventually, he had to break. So, Jade leaned back in her chair, balancing it on 2 legs. What do you do for fun? Besides, like boring computer stuff? I travel, read, work out. Boring, boring, and boring. Jade fake yawned. When I'm not shopping, which is basically my full-time job, I like to fly to different countries on a whim. Like last week I woke up and decided I wanted sushi, so I flew to Japan. For sushi. For real sushi. Not that fake stuff they serve here. She flipped her tangled wig. I have my own private jet, so it's not even a big deal. My daddy bought it for my birthday last year. That's quite a gift. I mean, I asked for 2 jets, but whatever. Jade shrugged dramatically. Parents, am I right? They never listen. Theo was quiet for a moment, studying her with those unreadable eyes. What else do you enjoy? He asked. Besides traveling on a whim? Jade's mind raced. What would a spoiled rich girl do? What had she always dreamed of doing if she had unlimited money? I collect cars, she said. I have like 15, 20? I lost count. Lamborghinis, Ferraris, all the fancy ones. I can't actually drive most of them because they're manual and I only learned automatic. But they look pretty in my garage. A 20-car garage? Garages, plural. Jade waved her hand. I have 3 houses, one here, one in Miami, one in, Dubai. They all have garages. And you stay in each one equally? No, I get bored easy. Sometimes I just buy a new house because I don't like the vibes anymore. She snapped her fingers. My daddy handles all that. He's always complaining about it, but that's what daddies are for, right? Right. Oh, and I have a personal chef. I have 4 personal chefs, one for each type of cuisine. Jade was on a roll now, spitting out every fantasy she'd ever had. Italian chef, Mexican chef, Thai chef, and one who just makes desserts because I have a sweet tooth. That's very thorough. I also have a massage therapist who comes to my house every day, and a personal stylist, and someone whose whole job is to carry my bags when I go shopping. A bag carrier. Yes. He's very strong, has to be. I shop a lot. Jade grinned with her lipstick-stained teeth. Oh, and I have a room in my house that's just for my shoes, floor to ceiling, all designer, Louboutins, Jimmy Choo's. Jimmy Choo's, Theo corrected gently. That's what I said. Jimmy Choo's. Jade didn't miss a beat. Anyway, I have like 500 pairs, maybe more. I've never counted. That's what assistants are for. The appetizers arrived. Some fancy dish with tiny portions and a French name Jade couldn't pronounce. She grabbed a piece with her fingers and shoved it in her mouth. Not bad, she said, chewing loudly. But my personal chef makes it better. The Italian one? The French one. I forgot to mention him. Jade waved her hand. I have 5 chefs now. I just remembered. Must be hard to keep track. It is. She sighed dramatically. Being rich is so exhausting. Like I have to decide which house to sleep in, which car to drive, which chef to make my breakfast. Like sometimes I wish I was normal, you know? Just so I wouldn't have so many decisions. Theo's dark eyes held hers for a long moment. Something shifted in his expression. Something she couldn't quite read. You know what I find interesting about you, Pearl? He asked softly. Everything? Almost. His voice dropped lower. You speak about wealth like someone who's imagined it very carefully. Like someone who's thought a lot about what they would do if they had unlimited resources. Jade's heart stuttered. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. He smiled, that slow, dangerous smile. Just an observation. Before she could respond, his eyes dropped. To her leg. Jade looked down. Her foot was bouncing under the table. That nervous habit she'd had since childhood. The one that always gave her away when she was lying. She forced it still. When she looked up, Theo was watching her with an expression that made her skin prickle. Tell me, Pearl, he said, where did you go to school? The question caught her off guard. School? College. University. Jade's mind raced. Where would Pearl DeAndre have gone to college? Harvard, she blurted. Harvard? Theo nodded slowly. What did you study? Business, obviously, for the hotels. Of course. And did you enjoy it? It was fine, kind of boring. Jade grabbed more bread, buying time. Nah, lots of reading. Tests, you know how it is. I do. Theo's voice was mild. I went to MIT myself. Cool. Jade had no idea if that was impressive or not. I've heard of that. It's in Massachusetts. I know where it is. She didn't. I've been there. Once. For a thing. A thing. A charity thing. Or maybe a party. I don't remember. I go to so many events. Theo was quiet for a moment. His fingers drummed lightly against the tablecloth. You're very interesting. A pearl, he finally said. I know. I'm fascinating. You are. His eyes held hers. Most people I meet are very predictable. They say what they think I want to hear. They try to impress me with things they think I care about. Sounds boring. It is. He leaned forward slightly. But you? You're not trying to impress me at all. In fact, you seem to be trying very hard to do the opposite. Jade's heart pounded. I don't know what you mean. Don't you? They stared at each other across the table. The restaurant noise faded away. The other diners disappeared. It was just the two of them, locked in some kind of silent battle she didn't fully understand. Then Theo smiled. Nothing. Forget I said anything. He picked up his champagne glass. Tell me more about your shoe collection. Jade blinked. Just like that, the tension broke. He was back to being pleasant, casual, interested. But something had shifted. She could feel it. This man wasn't buying her act. She just couldn't figure out why he was still playing along. The rest of the dinner passed in a blur. Jade kept up the performance. The loud chewing, The obnoxious comments, the ridiculous lies about her fake wealthy life. And through it all, Theo watched her with those dark, knowing eyes, asking questions that felt like traps, making observations that felt like warnings. He was toying with her. She just couldn't prove it. Finally, after an hour of the most exhausting performance of her life, Jade decided to call it. Well, she stood up abruptly, grabbing her knockoff purse. This has been something, but I've got places to be. Theo rose smoothly. Leaving so soon? I have like 3 more dates tonight. She shrugged. Busy schedule? Of course. He slid his hands into his pockets. It was a pleasure meeting you, Pearl. Yeah, odd same. She was already backing toward the exit. Thanks for the champagne, even if it wasn't as good as my imported stuff. Of course. She turned to leave. Pearl. Something in his voice made her pause. She looked back. Theo was standing exactly where she'd left him, relaxed, confident, like a man who knew exactly how everything was going to play out. We should do this again sometime, he said softly. I have a feeling there's a lot more I'd like to learn about you. Something cold slithered down Jade's spine. I doubt that, she managed. I'm very busy. I'm sure you are. She turned and walked toward the elevator. Fast, faster. The doors opened. She stepped inside, turned around. Across the restaurant, Theo raised his glass in a small salute. The doors closed. Jade sagged against the wall and let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. What the hell was that? That man wasn't boring. That man wasn't normal. That man was something else entirely. But it didn't matter now. She'd done her job. There was no way he'd ever want to see Pearl DeAndre again. What he had said in parting was just him being polite. Mission accomplished. Her phone buzzed. Pearl, how did it go? Is he horrified? Did he run away crying? Tell me everything. Jade typed back. Done. He's definitely not calling. Mission accomplished. Pearl's response was instant. You're the best friend ever. Money's on the way. A moment later, Jade's phone buzzed with a notification. $5,000 deposited into her account. She stared at the number. Then she thought about Kendrick's tuition, the bills on the counter, the dreams she was slowly, painfully trying to build. This money changed everything. She smiled. That was the last she'd ever see of Theo Max. She was absolutely certain of it. Little did she know she was about to cross paths with him again in the most unexpected way. 2 days later. Max Industries. The Loop. Jade stepped off the elevator on the 17th floor and took a deep breath. 2 weeks at this job. So far, so good. Max Industries occupied the top floors of a sleek tower on Wacker Drive, overlooking the Chicago River. The office was all glass walls and modern furniture and people in clothes that cost more than Jade's monthly rent. It was intimidating. But it was also opportunity. Morning, Jade? Breon Walker waved from her desk. Early 30s, warm brown skin, sister locks past her shoulders, and a smile that could make anyone feel welcome. Morning. Jade set down her bag. Why does everyone look like they're about to faint? Breon rolled her chair closer, eyes wide with excitement. Girl, you didn't hear? Hear what? The founder is coming back. Today. Jade frowned. Founder. Theo Max. Breon whispered the name like it was sacred. Built this whole company from nothing. It started when he was in his 20s. Made his first billion before 30. Stepped back last year after his father passed away. Let other people handle things. Jade's blood went cold. Theo, Max, that's the one. And he's coming back full time, taking over as CEO again. Breon fanned herself. Girl, I have seen pictures. Yeah? That man is fine, distinguished, sharp. I got this little bit of gray in his beard that makes him look like he knows exactly what he's doing in every situation, if you know what I mean. Jade's stomach dropped to her feet. What's he look like? She managed. Exactly? Brianne pulled up something on her phone and turned the screen toward Jade. The bottom fell out of her world. Same deep brown skin. Same low-cut hair. Same mustache and sideburns with that hint of gray. Same dark, knowing eyes that seemed to see right through everything. The man from the restaurant. The man she'd put her crusty dishwater feet on. The man who owned this entire company. Her company, her job. Fine, right? Brianne grinned. They say he's tough but fair, expects perfection, has zero tolerance for... The elevator dinged. The entire floor went silent. Jade's heart stopped beating. The doors slid open, and Theo Max stepped out like he owned everything his eyes touched. Because he did. He was even more striking than she remembered. The charcoal suit fit him like armor. His presence filled the space like a physical force. Every head turned. Every conversation died. He walked like a man who had never encountered an obstacle he couldn't destroy. A tall woman walked beside him, beautiful in a cold, calculated way. Dark skin, bone-straight weave, designer suit. Simone Ashford, Chief Marketing Officer. Jade had learned to avoid her. So behind them came a parade of executives, all jockeying for position. Theo ignored them all. His dark eyes swept across the floor, taking in every face, every detail. Jade held her breath. Please don't see me. Please don't recognize me. Please. His gaze passed right over her. No recognition. Nothing. Relief flooded through her so fast she felt dizzy. Of course he didn't recognize her. She'd been wearing a rainbow wig and a Barbie crop top. She'd had lipstick smeared across her teeth and dishwater on her feet. Today, she looked completely different. Professional. Her dark brown skin glowing against a cream blazer. Her hair in its signature single fat braid that fell past her shoulder, ends secured with a simple black tie. Minimal makeup. Understated. She was invisible. Thank God. Theo. Simone's voice carried across the floor. Welcome back. We've all missed you so much. Simone. His tone was polite but cool. Let's get started. Of course, but first there's a staffing matter we need to address. Simone's smile sharpened. Your executive assistant. Cheryl was late this morning. Again. 20 minutes. Something shifted in Theo's expression. The warmth, what little there was, drained away completely. Late on my first day back? I'm afraid so. They reached the center of the floor. Theo stopped. Where is she? A woman near the windows looked up. Cheryl, mid-30s, nervous eyes. Her face had gone completely pale. Mr. Max, she started. I can explain. You were late. Theo's voice was quiet. Calm, which somehow made it more terrifying. On the day I returned to personally oversee operations, the day that sets the tone for everything that follows. The red line had delays. I left on time, but delays happen. His head tilted slightly, like a predator examining prey. Which is why professionals leave early. They anticipate obstacles. Nay, they plan for contingencies. Please, this isn't about one morning, Cheryl. It's about mindset. And I don't employ people whose mindset allows for excuses. I have kids. Cheryl's voice cracked. I can't afford to. Simone will ensure you receive a fair severance. I wish you well. He turned away from her like she'd already ceased to exist. Jade watched two security guards appear. Watched Cheryl gather her things with shaking hands. Watched the woman's eyes fill with tears as she was escorted toward the elevator. Cold. That was the word. This wasn't just a powerful man. This was a man who didn't forgive, didn't give second chances, didn't bend. This was a man you did not cross. and Jade had put her feet on his table. "Y'all stop. We need to pause again. Jade just watched this man fire someone in seconds. No mercy, no second chances, just, 'I wish you well,' and gone. This is the same man she put her crusty dishwater feet on, the same man she burped at, the same man whose blind date she completely destroyed. If he figures out who she is, she might not just lose her job, she's losing everything." Comment, Jade Hyde, if you think she needs to run for the hills right now. But if you think maybe, just maybe, she can survive this, comment, play it cool. Now hit that subscribe button because things are about to get intense. "Now," Theo said, his voice cutting through the silence like a blade. "I need a new executive assistant, someone who understands what it means to work for me, someone exceptional." His eyes swept the floor. "Simone, select candidates from our newest employees." Simone smiled. "I've already identified several promising options." She turned and scanned the floor. Her eyes landed on a cluster of assistants near the windows. You. She pointed at 3 people. Her finger swung toward Jade's area. "And you." Jade's blood turned to ice. No. "Line up," Simone commanded. "Mr. Max will make his selection personally." Jade's legs felt like water as she stood. She couldn't refuse, couldn't make a scene, couldn't draw attention to herself. She walked to where Simone indicated and took her place at the end of the line. 4 candidates, her on the far right. Maybe he wouldn't pick her. Maybe she'd blend in with the others. Maybe. Simone led them toward the corner office. The door opened. Theo Max stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, silhouetted against the Chicago River. The morning light caught the gray in his beard and made him look powerful, untouchable. He turned as they entered. "These are your options," Simone said. "All qualified, all capable. You can review their files and—" "I don't need files." Theo's voice cut her off. "I know what I'm looking for." He walked slowly in front of the line, taking his time, studying each person like they were specimens under examination. He stopped in front of the first candidate, a young man with nervous eyes. Theo studied him for 3 seconds. Moved on. Second candidate. A woman standing too straight, trying too hard. 3 seconds. Move on. Third candidate, 3 seconds. Then he reached Jade. He stopped. Jade kept her face neutral, kept her breathing steady. Didn't blink. "Please don't recognize me. Please don't recognize me. But please." Theo's dark eyes moved slowly over her face. Her blazer, her braid. Something flickered in his expression. Then his gaze dropped. To her feet. Jade's leg was bouncing. That nervous habit she'd never been able to control. The same tell that had given her away at the restaurant. The same bouncing that happened every time she lied. No. Stop. Stop. She forced her legs still. But it was too late. When Theo looked up, his lips curved into a smile so slight she might have imagined it. "Yuck, this one," he said. Jade's heart stopped. Simone frowned. "Sir? This one." He nodded toward Jade. "What's your name?" "Jade." The word came out hoarse. "Jade Cooper. Miss Cooper." He said it slowly, like he was savoring every syllable, like he knew exactly what those 2 words meant. "You're my new executive assistant, effective immediately." Simone's jaw tightened. "Mr. Max, she's only been here 2 weeks. She's extremely inexperienced. If the others are far more qualified. I've made my decision." His tone left 0 room for argument. "Everyone else back to work. Miss Cooper, stay. We have things to discuss." The other candidates filed out. Simone shot Jade a look of pure venom before following them. The door closed. The lock clicked. And Jade was alone with Theo Max. For a long moment, neither of them moved. Theo walked slowly to his desk and leaned against it, crossing his arms over his broad chest. His dark eyes never left her face. The silence stretched, and stretched, and stretched. Then he smiled, that slow, dangerous smile from the restaurant, the one that said he was already 3 moves ahead. "So," he said softly, "we meet again, Jade." Her stomach dropped through the floor. "I don't know what your foot is bouncing." She looked down. "Damn it." "It bounced the same way at the restaurant," Theo continued, his voice almost casual, conversational. Like they were discussing the weather and not her entire life crumbling. "Every time you lied about something, the private jets, the 20-car garage, the personal chefs." He pushed off the desk and walked toward her. Slow, deliberate, like a predator closing in on prey that had nowhere left to run. "The champagne that wasn't as good as what you import." He smiled. "That was my favorite part. Watching you try not to gag on the most expensive drink you'd ever tasted." Jade's face burned. "Oh, you knew," she whispered. "The whole time. From the moment you sat down." He stopped in front of her, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and masculine that made her head spin. The wig was creative. The lipstick on the teeth was a nice touch. But the act was too perfect, too committed. His eyes held hers. "Nobody is that naturally terrible," which meant you were trying to be. The question was why. "Why didn't you say something?" "Because I was entertained." He tilted his head slightly. "For the first time in years, someone surprised me. Someone didn't try to impress me. Someone tried to scare me away." His voice dropped lower. "I wanted to see how far you'd go." Jade's heart was pounding so hard she could hear it in her ears. "You put your feet on my table," Theo continued. "The smell was memorable. And you sat there and told me about your 5 personal chefs and your shoe room and your custom champagne with the straightest face I've ever seen." He laughed softly. "It was magnificent." "Magnificent?" Jade stared at him. "You're insane." "Possibly." His smile sharpened. "But I'm also your boss now, and I know exactly who you are." He walked to his desk and picked up a file. "Jade Cooper, 26 years old, lives in Inglewood with her younger brother Kendrick, 19. A sophomore at UIC studying computer science. Mother passed away 8 months ago from cancer. Father unknown." He looked up. "Currently struggling to make rent, behind on utilities, and exactly $4,500 short on her brother's tuition." He set down the file. "At least until 2 days ago, when $5,000 mysteriously appeared in her account." His eyes glittered. "Payment for a job well done, I assume?" Jade couldn't speak, couldn't think. He knew everything. Everything. "What do you want?" she finally managed. Theo was quiet for a moment. His dark eyes studied her like she was a puzzle he was still figuring out. "I want a girlfriend," he said. Jade blinked. "Excuse me?" "Not a real one. A fake one." His voice was matter-of-fact, like he was discussing a business merger. "My family has decided I work too much. My grandfather sets up these ridiculous blind dates constantly. The board thinks I'm too focused on the company to be stable." He made air quotes. "They want me settled, domesticated. And you want me to pretend to be your girlfriend? 10 public appearances, family dinners, industry events. You smile, you hold my hand, you act like you're completely in love with me." He shrugged those powerful shoulders. "In exchange, I forget about your little performance at the restaurant. Your friend Pearl remains blissfully unaware that her scheme almost went very public. And your job here remains secure. That's blackmail. That's business." His smile was cold now, sharp. "So what's it going to be, Miss Cooper? 10 dates with a billionaire, or unemployment, scandal, and watching your brother's future implode?" Jade stared at this man. This infuriatingly intelligent, impossibly arrogant, dangerously beautiful man. He had her cornered. They both knew it. There was no way out. "Fine," she said through clenched teeth. 10 dates. Excellent. Theo sat down behind his desk like they'd just finalized a routine acquisition. "First one is Saturday. 7 p.m. I'll send a car." "I can get there myself." "I'll send a car," he repeated, not looking up. "And Miss Cooper?" "What?" His eyes met hers. That dangerous glint was back. "Wear something nice this time." His lips curved. "Though I have to admit, I do miss the rainbow wig." Jade turned on her heel and stormed out of that office, and the door slammed behind her hard enough to make the walls shake. And that, my beautiful people, is how Jade Cooper, broke girl from Englewood, makeup artist, devoted sister, became the fake girlfriend of one of the most powerful men in Chicago. She walked into that office as a secretary. She walked out as a billionaire's pretend lover. If you're already obsessed with these two, I comment Theo and Jade. Make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell because the next part is coming with all the heat. Saturday night. The black car arrived at exactly 7 p.m. Not 6:58. Not 7:02. Exactly 7 o'clock. Jade watched it pull up to her building from her apartment window. Sleek. Expensive. The kind of car that did not belong on this street. "Your ride's here?" Kendrick called from the couch, not looking up from his video game. "You sure you don't want me to come as backup? I could hide in the trunk, jump out if he tries anything." "I'll be fine." Jade grabbed her clutch, also borrowed, like everything else she was wearing tonight. "Don't wait up." "Who is this guy anyway?" Kendrick finally paused his game and looked at her. His eyes widened. "Damn, sis, you look fancy." Jade glanced down at herself. The dress was simple but elegant, a deep pink with gold trimmings that complemented her dark brown skin. Her hair was still in its signature fat braid, but she'd added some gold cuffs to make it look intentional. Her makeup was flawless because, well, that was literally her job. She looked good. She just didn't feel good. "He's just a work thing," Jade said vaguely. "Business dinner." "Business dinner that sends a whole car for you?" Kendrick raised an eyebrow. "That's some fancy business." "Bye. A Kendrick. Use protection." "Kendrick!" She slammed the door on his cackling laughter and headed downstairs. The driver was waiting by the car. Middle-aged white man in a crisp uniform. He opened the back door as she approached. "Miss Cooper, Mr. Max is expecting you." Jade slid into the back seat. And there he was. Theo Max sat on the opposite side of the car, looking like he'd just stepped off the cover of a magazine. Dark suit. No tie. And that hint of gray in his beard catching the streetlights. Those dark eyes watching her with an intensity that made her skin prickle. "Miss Cooper," he said. "You clean up well. Don't sound so surprised." "I'm not surprised." His eyes swept over her slowly, taking in the dress, the makeup, the braid. "I'm impressed. There's a difference." Something warm flickered in Jade's chest. She squashed it immediately. "Where are we going?" she asked as the car pulled away. "Dinner first, then a charity gala." "Charity gala?" "The Chicago Children's Hospital annual fundraiser." Theo pulled out his phone and started scrolling. "Several board members will be there. Family friends, my grandfather." Jade's stomach clenched. "Your grandfather?" "Augustus Max, 82 years old. Built Max Industries from the ground up before I took over. Now spends most of his time trying to marry me off." Theo glanced at her. "He's the main reason we're doing this." "Great. No pressure." "You'll be fine." Theo returned to his phone. "Just smile, hold my hand, and try not to put your feet on anyone's table." Jade glared at him. You're never going to let that go, are you? Never. He smiled slightly. It's the most memorable first impression anyone's ever made on me. I'm so honored. You should be. They rode in silence for a few minutes. The city lights flickered past the window. Jade watched the buildings get taller, fancier, and further from anything resembling her real life. What's our story? She asked finally. Our story? If people ask how we met, what we tell them. Theo considered this. We met through mutual connections. Started dating a month ago. Kept it private because I don't like media attention on my personal life. That's boring. Boring is believable. He looked at her. What would you prefer? That I tell them you showed up to our first date in a rainbow wig and put your feet on a $4,000 tablecloth? Okay, fine. Mutual connections it is. The car pulled up to a restaurant that looked like it cost $100 just to walk in the door. The driver opened Jade's door and Theo appeared beside her, offering his arm. She stared at it. People are watching, Theo murmured. We're supposed to be in love, remember? Jade took his arm. His body was warm beside her, a solid. She could feel the muscle beneath his suit jacket, could smell his cologne, that same expensive scent from his office. Focus. This is fake. This is business. They walked into the restaurant together, and Jade felt every eye turn toward them. Whispers followed like shadows. Is that Theo Max? Who's the woman? She's gorgeous. I've never seen her before. The host led them to a private table in the back. Secluded, intimate, candles flickering between them. Otter Theo pulled out her chair. Jade sat, trying to remember how to breathe normally. Relax, Theo said, taking his own seat. You look like you're about to be executed. I feel like it. It's just dinner. He picked up the menu. I've been told I'm decent company. By who? Your employees? Jade picked up her own menu. They're probably scared you'll fire them if they say otherwise. Theo laughed. It was a real laugh, low and warm. It transformed his face, made him look younger, softer. Jade stared at him. What? He asked. Nothing. She shook her head. I didn't know you could do that. Do what? Laugh, like a normal person. Something flickered in his eyes. I'm full of surprises, Miss Cooper. Jade, she corrected. If we're supposed to be dating, you should probably call me Jade. Jade. He said her name slowly, like he was tasting it. All right, then you should call me Theo. I thought I already did. You call me Mr. Max, or that arrogant jerk who blackmailed me. He smiled. I heard you muttering it in the elevator last week. Jade's face went hot. You weren't supposed to hear that. I hear everything. His dark eyes held hers. Remember that. Dinner was not terrible. The food was incredible. Some French cuisine that Jade couldn't pronounce but would definitely dream about later. The wine was smooth and expensive and nothing like the cheap stuff she usually drank. And Theo. Theo was different than she expected. He asked her questions, real questions, about her work, her makeup business, her dreams. You want your own line? He asked, leaning forward with what seemed like genuine interest. Eventually, when I have the money. Jade shrugged. It's just a dream right now. Dreams become reality when you have a plan. Theo swirled his wine. What's your plan? Survive, save, build. Jade laughed softly. That's as far as I've gotten. It's a start. He studied her. Most people don't even get that far. Most people don't have a little brother counting on them. Something shifted in Theo's expression. Something that looked almost like respect. Kendrick, he said. Computer science at UIC. You remembered. I remember everything about you, Jade. His voice dropped lower. I told you. I did my research. A shiver ran down her spine that had nothing to do with the air conditioning. After dinner, they headed to the gala. The Chicago Children's Hospital Gala was held in a ballroom that probably cost more to rent for one night than Jade made in a year. Crystal chandeliers, ice sculptures, a live orchestra playing something classical. Hundreds of people in designer clothes, dripping in jewelry, laughing at jokes that probably weren't funny. This was Theo's world, and Jade had never felt more out of place. "Breathe," Theo murmured beside her. "I am breathing. You're holding my arm so tight I'm losing circulation." Jade loosened her grip, slightly. "Just follow my lead," Theo said. "Smile, nod. Let me do the talking." "I'm not an idiot. I can talk to people." "I know you can." His eyes met hers. "I've seen you talk, extensively, about your toenail collection and your 5 personal chefs. I hate you." "No, you don't." He smiled and led her into the crowd. The next 2 hours were a blur of introductions. CEOs politicians, odd society wives, old money and new money and money, money, money. Everyone wanted to talk to Theo. Everyone wanted to know who the mysterious woman on his arm was. "This is Jade," Theo said, over and over, his hand on her lower back, warm, steady. "My girlfriend." And every time he said it, something twisted in Jade's chest. Girlfriend. It wasn't real, but it felt real. The way he looked at her when he said it. The way his thumb traced small circles on her back. And the way he leaned in close when she talked, like every word she said was important. It felt real. And that was dangerous. "Theo," a voice cut through the crowd, old, commanding, familiar somehow. Jade turned to see an elderly man approaching. He walked with a cane but held himself like he didn't need it. His face was weathered but sharp. His eyes, the same dark brown as Theo's, missed nothing. "Grandfather." Theo's voice warmed. "I was wondering when you'd find us. I've been watching you all night." Augustus Max stopped in front of them, his gaze locked on Jade. "And this must be the woman everyone is whispering about." "Jade Cooper." Jade extended her hand. "It's nice to meet you, sir." Augustus took her hand but didn't shake it. He held it. Studied her face like he was reading a book. "Cooper," he repeated. "I don't know that name. What does your family do?" Jade felt Theo tense beside her. "My mother was a nurse," Jade said calmly. "She passed away 8 months ago. It's just me and my younger brother now." Augustus's eyes flickered. "I'm sorry for your loss." "Thank you." "And what do you do, Miss Cooper?" "I work for your grandson, as his executive assistant." Jade smiled. "And I have a small makeup business on the side. Custom foundations. I'm building it slowly." "Building?" Augustus nodded slowly. "I like that word. It implies work, effort." His eyes cut to Theo. Unlike some women who just want to coast on someone else's success." "Grandfather," Theo warned. "I'm paying her a compliment." Augustus's grip on Jade's hand tightened slightly. "There's something different about you, Miss Cooper. Something real." "I try to be, sir." "Don't try. Just be." He released her hand. "I've met many women who wanted to be part of this family. Most of them were polished, perfect, practiced." He leaned closer. "You're none of those things. Oh, and that's why I like you." Jade blinked. "Thank you?" Augustus laughed, a rusty sound like he didn't do it often. "I like her," he announced to Theo. "Don't mess this up." He walked away before either of them could respond. Jade let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. "What just happened?" she asked. "My grandfather approved of you." Theo sounded almost as surprised as she felt. "That doesn't happen often. He barely knows me. He knows enough." Theo's hand found the small of her back again. He's an excellent judge of character, always has been. So what happens now? Theo looked down at her, those dark eyes unreadable. Now, he said softly, we keep going, and we see what happens. The first date became the second, then the third, then the fourth. Each event was different. Business dinners, gallery openings, a charity polo match that Jade didn't understand but pretended to enjoy. And each time, something shifted. The touches lingered longer. The looks lasted a beat too much. The laughs came easier. Jade found herself looking forward to seeing Theo. Found herself thinking about him when they weren't together. Found herself wondering what his life was like when she wasn't in it. It was confusing and terrifying, because this wasn't supposed to be real. The governor's wedding was their 7th event together. It was held at a luxury hotel downtown, the kind of place where even the bathrooms had chandeliers. The ceremony was beautiful. The reception was extravagant. Everyone who was anyone in Chicago was there, including Pearl DeAndre. Jade spotted her across the room the moment they walked in. Pearl was wearing a gold gown that probably cost thousands of dollars. Her hair was pinned up in an elegant twist. She was laughing at something a man in a tuxedo said. Then she turned and saw Jade, and saw Theo, and saw their hands intertwined. Pearl's face went through about 15 emotions in 3 seconds flat. Jade's stomach dropped. "What's wrong?" Theo murmured. "My friend is here." "Which friend?" "Pearl." Jade swallowed hard. "Pearl DeAndre." Theo went very still beside her. "Ah," he said quietly. "The real Pearl." "Yes. This should be interesting." Before Jade could respond, Pearl was cutting through the crowd toward them. Her smile was bright. Her eyes were furious. "Jade!" Pearl air-kissed both her cheeks without actually touching her. "What a surprise. I didn't know you'd be here." "Pearl, hi?" Pearl's eyes slid to Theo, up and down, taking in every inch of him. "And who is this?" she asked, her voice dripping honey. "Theo Max," Theo said smoothly. "And you must be Pearl. I've heard so much about you." Something flickered in Pearl's expression. "Have you?" "All good things." Theo smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. "Jade speaks very highly of you." "Does she?" Pearl's gaze cut to Jade, sharp, knowing. "We should catch up, girl talk. You don't mind if I steal her for a few minutes, do you?" "Of course not." Theo released Jade's hand. "I'll get us drinks." He disappeared into the crowd. Pearl grabbed Jade's arm. "Bathroom," she hissed. "Now!" The bathroom door slammed open. Pearl stormed in like a hurricane in a designer gown. Her eyes were wild. Her perfectly styled hair was starting to come loose from how many times she'd run her hands through it. "Start talking," Pearl said, her voice shaking. "Right now." Jade took a breath. "Pearl, I can explain." "Explain what exactly?" Pearl's voice rose. "Explain why you're at this wedding? Explain why you're dressed like that?" She gestured at Jade's gown. Designer, probably worth more than every dress Jade owned. "Or explain why you walked in here holding hands with Theo Max? It's not what it looks like." "Really? Because it looks like my best friend is dating the man I paid her to reject." Pearl's eyes narrowed. "The man you said would never call. The man you said was handled." "Pearl, please. Is this why you did it, huh?" Pearl stepped closer, her voice dropping to something dangerous. "Did you sabotage that date on purpose so you could have him for yourself?" "What? No." "Then explain." Jade's heart was pounding. Her palms were sweating. Everything was falling apart. "It's fake," she blurted. Pearl froze. "What?" "The relationship. It's fake." Jade's words tumbled out. "He found out who I really was. He figured out I wasn't you. And he blackmailed me into pretending to be his girlfriend." Pearl stared at her for a long moment. "Blackmailed you," she repeated slowly. Yes. He threatened to tell your father what you did. What we did. Jade gripped the sink again. He needs a fake girlfriend to get his family off his back. 10 public appearances. That's it. Then it's over. Pearl was quiet. Too quiet. Then something shifted in her expression. The fury faded. Something else took its place. Something calculating. So, Pearl said slowly, he's not actually your boyfriend. No, I told you, it's fake. Which means... A smile crept across Pearl's face. He's still available. Jade's stomach dropped. What? Think about it. Pearl started pacing, her heels clicking against the marble floor. I rejected him without even meeting him. I sent you to scare him off. But now I've seen him, and... She fanned herself. Girl, that man is fine. Pearl. If I had known he looked like that, I never would have asked you to sabotage anything. Pearl laughed. Theo Max, billionaire, built like a black god. Odds and he's single. He's not. You just said the relationship is fake. Pearl turned to face her, eyes gleaming. Which means he's fair game. Jade felt something cold twist in her chest. Pearl, I don't think that's a good idea. Why not? You don't actually want him, right? Pearl raised an eyebrow. It's just business. You said so yourself. Jade opened her mouth, then closed it. Because Pearl was right. It was just business. Theo wasn't really her boyfriend. She had no claim on him. No right to feel this sudden, unexpected surge of... What? Jealousy? Possessiveness? That was ridiculous. She barely knew the man. Exactly. Pearl smiled, reading Jade's silence as agreement. So you keep doing your little fake girlfriend thing, and I'll work on making it real. With me. She flipped her hair and headed for the door. Pearl, wait. But Pearl was already gone. Jade stood alone in the bathroom, her heart racing, her mind spinning. What had just happened? 2 days later, Pearl started showing up everywhere. At the coffee shop near Jade's apartment, at the lunch spots near Max Industries, at events she'd never cared about before. And everywhere she went, she found reasons to be near Theo. What a coincidence, Pearl would say, tossing her hair. I was just in the neighborhood. She would touch his arm when she talked, laugh too loudly at his words, lean in close like they were sharing secrets. And Theo was polite, distant, but polite. She's persistent, he commented one evening after Pearl had accidentally shown up at their dinner reservation. She wants you, Jade said flatly. Does she? Obviously. Jade stabbed at her salad with unnecessary force. She practically drools every time she sees you. Theo watched her for a moment. Does that bother you? Why would it bother me? I don't know. His voice was mild. You tell me. It doesn't bother me. Stab, stab, stab. You can date whoever you want. Yes, this isn't real anyway. Right. Theo took a sip of his water. It isn't. Something in his tone made Jade look up, but his face was unreadable. Same as always. Pearl called Jade 3 days later. I need your help, Pearl said. With what? Theo. He's not responding to my signals. Jade gripped her phone so hard the case creaked. Maybe because he's not interested. He has to be interested. I'm me. Pearl laughed. I just need more access, more FaceTime. You could help with that. Tell me about other events you'd be attending. Introduce us again. Pearl, I don't think... You owe me, remember? I'm the one who gave you $5,000. The least you could do is help me land the man I should have dated in the first place. Jade was silent. Unless... Pearl's voice turned sly. Unless you have feelings for him yourself. I don't. Then what's the problem? Jade closed her eyes. What was the problem? This was fake. It was all fake. She had no right to feel this burning, twisting thing in her chest every time Pearl talked about Theo. No right at all. Fine, Jade said quietly. I'll see what I can do. Perfect. You're the best friend ever. Pearl hung up. Jade sat in the silence of her apartment and tried to convince herself that the ache in her chest was just indigestion, not jealousy. She could do it for Pearl. She could, right? What she was beginning to feel for Theo was probably one-sided anyway. But he would be more receptive of someone from his class, someone like Pearl, right? She got her answer 2 days later. The winter storm hit Chicago without warning. One minute, Jade and Theo were driving back from a business dinner. The next, the sky opened up and dumped 3 feet of snow on the city. Traffic stopped. Roads closed. The whole city went into lockdown. We're stuck, the driver said, pulling over. Nothing's moving. Theo looked out the window at the blinding white. Ock then at his phone. Then at Jade. Where are we exactly? He asked. About 2 blocks from my apartment, Jade said. Then I suppose I'm spending the night in Inglewood. Jade's heart stopped. What? Unless you'd prefer I sleep in the car. Theo raised an eyebrow. I've done worse, but a warm apartment sounds preferable. My apartment isn't. You can't. Jade. His voice was calm. It's fine. I promise not to judge your furniture. 20 minutes later, and they were trudging through the snow toward Jade's building. Jade unlocked the door to her apartment with shaking hands. Not from the cold. Theo Max was about to see her real life. Her tiny apartment, her worn couch, her cramped rooms. The door swung open. Kendrick was on the couch playing video games. He looked up, saw Theo, and his controller slipped from his hands. Kendrick said intelligently. Hi? Kendrick, this is Theo, Jade said quickly. We're the storm. I'm stranded, Theo said smoothly. Your sister was kind enough to offer shelter. I hope that's not an imposition. Kendrick's eyes went wide as he took in Theo's expensive suit, expensive watch, expensive everything. You're that Theo? Kendrick scrambled to his feet. Theo Max, the tech billionaire? Guilty. The one who... Kendrick caught Jade's warning look and stopped. Cool. Welcome to our humble, very humble, extremely humble home. Jade wanted to melt into the floor, but Theo just looked around the small apartment with an expression that wasn't judgment. It was something else, something she couldn't name. It's cozy, he said. I like it. You don't have to lie, Jade muttered. I'm not. He turned to look at her. It feels like a home. That's rare. Before Jade could respond, Kendrick was pulling Theo toward the couch. Come sit down. Are you hungry? We have food. Well, we have some food. Actually, I can order something. Do you like pizza? Of course you don't like pizza. You probably eat caviar or whatever. Wait, do you like video games? Kendrick. Jade pinched the bridge of her nose. Let the man breathe. No, it's fine. Theo was smiling. A real smile. I'd love some pizza. And yes, I play video games. What do you have? Jade watched in disbelief as Theo settled onto her worn couch next to her little brother and picked up a controller. The billionaire CEO, in her tiny apartment, playing video games with her brother. What universe was this? 3 hours later, the apartment was warm with laughter and the smell of pizza. Kendrick had not stopped talking. About school, about his coding projects, about how he was going to build an app that would change the world. He was practically selling himself to Theo, making connections for the future. And Theo listened. Actually listened. He asked questions, gave advice, looked at Kendrick's code and pointed out ways to improve it. You should apply for an internship at Max Industries, Theo said. We have a summer program for students. Kendrick's eyes nearly popped out of his head. Bingo. That was exactly what he'd been fantasizing about when his sister told him she was now faking dating Theo. Are you serious? I'm always serious about talent. Theo glanced at Jade. And I have a feeling your sister would destroy me if I didn't help her family succeed. I would definitely destroy you, Jade agreed, laughing. See? Self-preservation. Theo smiled. Send me your resume next week. Kendrick looked like he might cry. This is the best night of my life. Don't be dramatic, Jade said. I'm not being dramatic. A billionaire is on our couch giving me career advice. Kendrick jumped up. I'm going to make you the most comfortable guest ever. Aren't you sleeping in my room? I'll take the couch. That's not necessary, Theo started. Yes, it is. You helped pay my tuition. This is the least I can do. Jade froze. Theo went very still. He did what? Jade asked slowly. Kendrick's face went pale. I wasn't supposed to say that. Kendrick, the financial aid office called, Kendrick said quickly, backing toward his room. They said an anonymous donor paid the whole thing, the whole $4,500. Oh, and then I did some research and found out which company the wire came from And? Jade's voice was dangerously calm. Kendrick pointed at Theo. It was him. He fled to his room. Jade turned to Theo slowly. He was watching her with an unreadable expression. Waiting. You paid my brother's tuition, she said. I did. The entire thing. Yes. Jade stared at him. Then she launched herself at him. Theo caught her in a hug that nearly knocked him off the couch. Thank you, she whispered into his shoulder. Thank you, thank you, thank you. His arms tightened around her. You're not angry? Why would I be angry? She pulled back to look at him, her eyes shining. You just changed my brother's life. You changed my life. Do you know how many nights I stayed up worrying about that money? I had an idea. I'll pay you back, she said quickly. The salary at your company is more than good. Part of my first paycheck will... No, Theo said firmly, cutting her off. You won't. Jade stuck out her tongue at him. Yeah, I was just being polite. Theo blinked, then he laughed. Kendrick will pay you back, Jade continued, grinning. When he gets a freaking job, which he better after you give him that internship. That's fair. That's more than fair. She was still smiling, her whole face lit up. You're not as terrible as I thought, Theo Max. High praise. His voice was soft. I'll take it. Later that night, it was almost midnight when they realized the sleeping arrangements were a problem. Kendrick's room had a bed that he'd clearly outgrown years ago. It was tiny, cramped, meant for a child, not a grown man, and definitely not meant for a 6'4" billionaire. This is fine, Theo said, looking at the bed that his feet would hang off of. This is not fine. Jade stood in the doorway, cringing. We never had enough money to replace it. Kendrick usually sleeps on the couch anyway. Jade, it's fine. You're going to get cramps. You're going to wake up shaped like a pretzel. She sighed. Come on, you can sleep in my room. Theo raised an eyebrow. The bed is normal-sized, Jade said quickly, her face warming. Big enough for an actual adult. You'll be comfortable. She led him to her room. It was small but neat. A full-sized bed with a colorful quilt her mama had made. Photos on the wall, makeup organized on her dresser. Theo looked around slowly, taking it all in. Your mother made this quilt, he said. It wasn't a question. How did you know? The care in it. He ran his fingers along the stitching. This wasn't mass-produced. Someone who loved you made this. Jade's throat tightened. Yeah, she did. Theo sat on the bed. It didn't creak. Much better, he said. Good. Okay. Jade backed toward the door. So, I'll just go sleep on. Stay. The word stopped her cold. Theo was looking at her with an expression she couldn't read. Stay, he said again, softer. The bed can accommodate two. Theo, I don't think we should. Her heart was pounding. My brother could get the wrong idea. Then sit in the chair and talk to me. He nodded toward a small chair by her dresser. Just stay till I fall asleep. Something in his voice made her want to say yes. So she did. She settled into the chair, tucking her feet under her. Yo, what do you want to talk about? She asked. Anything. He lay back against her pillows, looking strangely comfortable in her small, humble room. Everything. So they talked. About small things at first. Favorite foods, favorite movies, pet peeves, then deeper things. I wasn't always like this, Theo said quietly. Cold, controlled. When I was younger, I was different. What changed? My father. Theo's jaw tightened. He taught me that emotions were weakness. That softness got you destroyed in business. He was quiet for a moment. He wasn't wrong, but he wasn't entirely right either. He passed away last year, Jade said softly. Brian mentioned it. Heart attack, at his desk. Theo laughed bitterly. Working until the very end. Even death couldn't make him take a break. That sounds lonely. It was. Theo looked at her. He died alone. No family, no friends, just work. And I looked at his life and I thought, is that what I'm becoming? Is that why you stepped away from the company? Partly. He was quiet again. I didn't want to end up like him, but I also didn't know how to be anything else. Jade's heart ached for him. This man who had everything, and somehow had nothing at all. You're not like him, she said softly. You're here, in my tiny apartment, playing video games with my brother, and talking to me about your feelings. All things my father would have considered weakness. Then your father was an idiot. Theo laughed, surprised and genuine. No one's ever called Augustus Max II an idiot before. Well, I just did. Jade shrugged. Emotions aren't weakness. They're what make us human, and being human. She smiled. That's kind of the whole point. Theo was quiet for a long moment. Then he smiled. I'm glad the storm stranded me here, he said. Yeah? Yeah. His eyes held hers. This is the most real conversation I've had in years. Something warm bloomed in Jade's chest. They talked more. About her mother, about her dreams, about the life she was building one day at a time. Somewhere along the way, Jade's eyes grew heavy. She didn't remember falling asleep. The next morning, Jade woke up in her bed, tucked under the covers, still in her clothes from last night, but definitely in her bed. She didn't remember getting there. The last thing she remembered was sitting in the chair, talking to Theo about her mama's recipe for sweet potato pie. She sat up. The chair was empty. Voices floated from the living room. Jade stumbled out of her bedroom and stopped dead. Her coffee table was covered with food, pancakes, eggs, bacon, fresh fruit, pastries, orange juice, coffee. More food than she and Kendrick usually ate in a week. Kendrick sat in the middle of it all, stuffing his face like he'd never eaten before. Theo sat across from him, nursing a cup of coffee and looking annoyingly well-rested. Morning, sleepyhead, Kendrick said through a mouthful of pancake. Theo ordered breakfast. I can see that. This is the greatest meal I've ever had. Kendrick held up a croissant like it was sacred. I think I'm in love with this man. Please don't say that out loud, Jade muttered. Theo caught her eye, smiled. You fell asleep in the chair, he said. I moved you to the bed. You carried me? You weigh almost nothing. It wasn't difficult. He took a sip of his coffee. You also snore. I do not snore. You absolutely do. Kendrick pointed his fork at her. Like a little lawnmower. I hate both of you. But she was smiling. After breakfast, the storm had passed and the roads were clear. Theo's driver came to pick him up. At the door, he turned to Jade. Move in with me, he said. Jade blinked. What? You and Kendrick. My penthouse has plenty of room. Guest suites, real beds. He glanced back at the tiny apartment. You wouldn't have to struggle anymore. Jade's heart squeezed. Part of her, a big part, wanted to say yes. But she shook her head. I appreciate it, she said. Really, I do, more than you know. She took a breath. But that's a lot. That's crossing a line. This is our home. We've something here. Theo studied her for a moment. I understand, he said. And somehow, he sounded like he actually did. He left. 2 days later, a delivery truck arrived at Jade's building. The delivery men hauled a massive king-sized bed up the stairs and into Kendrick's room. Brand new, top of the line, already paid for. Jade called Theo. You bought my brother a bed? She asked. I bought your brother a bed that fits a human being. Theo. It's already done, non-refundable. Jade was quiet for a moment. Then she laughed. Thank you, she said softly. You're welcome. She could hear the smile in his voice. Consider it an investment in my future intern. You're impossible. So I've been told. Jade hung up. She looked at the massive new bed in Kendrick's room. She thought about the man who had bought it. And she realized, with a terrifying clarity, that somewhere along the way, she was wishing it wasn't fake anymore. Y'all, this man is down bad and he doesn't even know it yet. But here's the problem. Pearl is still out there, hunting, scheming, waiting for her chance. And the way this is going, something's gotta give. If you think Theo and Jade are about to be official, comment, make it real. But if you think Pearl is about to blow everything up, comment, trouble is coming. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications because next part is the finale. The truth comes out, hearts get broken, and we finally find out if this fake relationship becomes the real thing. Now Kendrick's reaction to the bed was over the top as expected of him. She stood in Kendrick's doorway, watching her brother sprawl across his brand new mattress like a starfish, making actual snow angel movements on the sheets. This is the most comfortable thing I've ever laid on, Kendrick announced. I might never leave this bed. Tell my professors I died happy. You're so dramatic. I'm comfortable. There's a difference. He sat up, suddenly serious. Sis, that man bought me a bed. A real bed. That fits my whole body. I know. Why would he do that? Jade didn't have an answer. Or maybe she did, but she wasn't ready to say it out loud. Go to sleep, Kendrick. I'm going to sleep great, for the first time in years. He flopped back down. Tell your boyfriend I love him. He's not my... But Kendrick was already fake snoring, a huge grin on his face. Jade closed his door and leaned against the hallway wall. Her boyfriend. He wasn't her boyfriend. Not really. This was still an arrangement. A deal. 10 public appearances in exchange for keeping her secrets. Except, somewhere along the way, the lines had gotten blurry. The way he looked at her. The way he touched the small of her back when they walked into rooms. The way he'd laid in her bed, wearing her mama's quilt, talking to her about his fears and his father and his loneliness. At the way he'd carried her to bed when she fell asleep and then ordered breakfast for her family like it was the most natural thing in the world. This didn't feel fake anymore. And that terrified her. 1 week later at Max Industries, something was wrong with Theo. Jade noticed it the moment he stepped off the elevator Monday morning. His usually perfect posture was slightly hunched. His dark skin looked ashy, like he hadn't slept in days, and his eyes, normally sharp enough to cut glass, were glassy and unfocused. But he walked in anyway. Suit pressed, shoes shined, acting like nothing was wrong. "Good morning, Miss Cooper," he said as he passed her desk. His voice was rough, scratchy, like sandpaper wrapped in velvet. "Good morning?" Jade frowned. "Are you okay?" "Fine." He kept walking. "You don't look fine," she called after him. "I have a 10 o'clock with the board," he said without turning around. "Make sure the conference room is ready." His office door closed behind him. Jade stared at it. That man was sick. Obviously, painfully, clearly sick. And he was here anyway, pretending everything was normal. Stubborn idiot. By noon, it was getting worse. Jade could hear him coughing through the closed door. Deep, rattling coughs that made her chest hurt just listening to them. When she brought him his coffee, she noticed his hands trembling slightly as he took the cup. When she handed him documents to sign, she saw sweat beading on his forehead. When she asked if he needed anything, he said, "I'm fine," in a voice that was barely a whisper. He was not fine. At 2 o'clock, Jade decided she'd had enough. She walked into his office without knocking. Theo looked up from his laptop. His eyes were red-rimmed. His breathing was labored. He looked like death in a designer suit. "Miss Cooper, I don't recall—" "You need to go home," Jade said firmly. "I have responsibilities. Your responsibility right now is to not die at your desk." She crossed her arms. "I can literally see you sweating through your shirt. Your hands are shaking. You've coughed approximately 700 times in the last hour. I've counted. It was closer to 60. "Oh, so you're keeping track of your own decline? That's healthy." Theo leaned back in his chair and closed his eyes. For a moment, the mask slipped. He looked exhausted, vulnerable, human. I don't know how to stop," he admitted quietly. "My whole life, I've been taught that stopping is weakness, that resting is giving up. That's stupid." His eyes opened. A weak smile crossed his face. "You have such a way with words." "I'm serious." Jade walked around his desk and stood in front of him. Close enough to see the dark circles under his eyes. Close enough to feel the heat radiating off his skin. "You're sick. Your body is telling you to slow down. Ignoring that doesn't make you strong. It makes you stubborn. And also, possibly dead. I'm not going to die from a cold. You don't know that. People die from colds all the time. It turns into pneumonia. Then you're in the hospital. Then you're on a ventilator. Then I'm at your funeral explaining to your grandfather why I didn't drag you home when I had the chance." Theo stared at her. Then he laughed. It turned into a coughing fit that lasted 30 seconds. "Fine," he wheezed when he could breathe again. "You've made your point. So you'll go home?" "On one condition." Jade's eyes narrowed. "What condition?" "You come with me." She blinked. "Excuse me?" "Take the day off. Come to my place." His dark eyes found hers, and despite the sickness, there was something intense in them. Something that made her stomach flip. "Take care of me." "That's not in my job description. Consider it a girlfriend duty." "I'm your fake girlfriend. You're still my girlfriend, right?" His voice dropped softer, more vulnerable than she'd ever heard it. "Even if it's only pretense." The words hung between them. Even if it's only pretense. Something about the way he said it made Jade's heart squeeze. "Fine," she heard herself say. "But only because you look pathetic right now. And because I don't want to explain to HR why I let the CEO die on company property. Your compassion is overwhelming. Shut up and get your coat." Theo's penthouse was ridiculous. Jade had known he was rich. Obviously. The man owned an entire company. But knowing someone was rich and standing in their $30 million penthouse were two very different experiences. The place took up the entire top floor of a building overlooking Lake Michigan. On floor-to-ceiling windows showed off a view that probably made grown men weep. The furniture was modern, expensive, the kind of stuff you saw in architecture magazines. There was art on the walls that she was scared to look at directly in case her gaze somehow damaged it. But for all its luxury, the place felt empty, cold, like a showroom that no one actually lived in. Jade searched for a word that wasn't insulting. Soulless? Theo offered. He'd collapsed onto a massive white couch the moment they walked in. I know, I'm never here. It could use some color, some personality. It could use a lot of things. He coughed again. Right now, it could use me not feeling like I'm dying. You're not dying. You're being dramatic. Jade looked around. Where's your kitchen? I'll make you something. You cook? I'm from the South Side. Of course I cook. She headed in what she hoped was the right direction. Yeah, my mama made sure I could feed myself before she let me out of the house unsupervised. The kitchen was absurd, bigger than her entire apartment. Commercial-grade appliances that had probably never been used. A refrigerator that could fit a small car. But the pantry was well-stocked, probably by some personal shopper who kept it filled. And Jade found everything she needed. 30 minutes later, she carried a steaming bowl out to the living room. Theo was exactly where she'd left him, and sprawled on the couch like a dying Victorian hero. His suit jacket was off, his tie loosened, his usually perfect hair disheveled. He looked almost normal. Sit up, Jade ordered. I made you soup. Theo cracked one eye open. You made this? From scratch? No, I summoned it from the soup dimension using my magical powers. She sat down next to him on the couch. Yes, I made it. It's my mama's recipe. Chicken soup with extra garlic and ginger. It cures everything from colds to heartbreak to general stupidity. Theo sat up slowly, wincing like even that small movement hurt. He took the bowl from her hands and breathed in the steam. Then he took a spoonful. His eyes widened. This is incredible, he said. Don't sound so shocked. No, I mean it. He took another spoonful, then another, eating faster now. This is the best soup I've ever had in my life. You eat at fancy restaurants every day. I'm sure you've had... I haven't. He looked at her. Really looked at her. Nothing in any restaurant has ever tasted like this. Like someone actually cared about making it. Something warm spread through Jade's chest. She watched him eat for a few more minutes. His movements were getting slower. His eyes were drooping. The sickness was catching up with him. Here, she said, reaching for the spoon. Let me. Theo raised an eyebrow. You're going to feed me? You can barely keep your eyes open. You're about to faceplant into the bowl and drown. She took the spoon from his unresisting fingers. Just shut up and let me help. She expected him to argue, to insist he could do it himself, to maintain some semblance of dignity. Instead, he leaned back against the couch and opened his mouth. Jade dipped the spoon in the soup and raised it to his lips. He swallowed. She fed him another spoonful. And another. It was strangely intimate, sitting this close to him, taking care of him, watching his eyes flutter closed with each bite like a child being lulled to sleep. This is embarrassing, Theo murmured. What is? Being this weak in front of you. You probably think I'm pathetic. I think you're sick. She raised another spoonful. There's a difference. Everybody gets sick sometimes. Even billionaire CEOs who think they're invincible. My father never got sick. Your father was probably sick plenty of times. He just hid it because he was too stubborn to be human. She watched him swallow. And look where that got him. Theo was quiet for a moment. "You don't pull punches, do you?" he said finally. "Life's too short for punches that don't land." He laughed softly. It turned into a small cough, but not as bad as before. "How did you become like this?" he asked. "Like what?" "So real." His voice was getting drowsier, softer. "Everyone in my life just says what they think I want to hear." His eyes met hers, glassy with fever but somehow still intense. "But you are so blunt, and you don't make any demands. You just want me to eat soup." "The soup is important. It has healing properties." "You're important." Jade's breath caught. Theo's hand came up, unsteady but deliberate, and brushed against her cheek. His fingers were warm from the fever, gentle in a way she hadn't expected. "I wasn't supposed to feel this way," he said quietly. "Feel what way?" "About you." His thumb traced her cheekbone. "This was supposed to be business, a transaction, 10 appearances and done. But somewhere along the way," he trailed off. Jade set down the bowl. Her heart was pounding so hard she could hear it. "Theo," she whispered, "I think I'm falling in love with you. I'm Jade Cooper." The words hung in the air between them. Everything else disappeared. The penthouse, the city outside, the entire world. Just Jade and Theo and those impossible words. "You're delirious," she managed. Her voice came out shaky. "It's the fever talking." "Maybe." His hand slid to the back of her neck, drawing her closer. "But I don't think so." He leaned in. She leaned in. The space between them shrank to inches, centimeters. She could feel his breath on her lips, and could see the gold flecks in his dark eyes, could feel her heart about to burst out of her chest. And then, the front door burst open. "Theo!" They jerked apart so fast Jade almost fell off the couch. Pearl DeAndre stood in the doorway. She wore a cream-colored designer coat and carried a ceramic pot with both hands. Her hair was perfectly styled. Her makeup was flawless. Her expression was shifting from concern to confusion to absolute fury as she took in the scene before her. With Theo on the couch, looking disheveled and sick. Jade beside him, close enough to kiss. The intimacy obvious in every inch of space between them. Pearl's eyes narrowed. "What the hell is going on here?" Jade scrambled to her feet, her heart still racing from what had almost happened. "Pearl, what am I doing here?" Pearl set her pot down on the nearest surface with a loud clunk. "I went to his office. They told me he went home sick. So I made soup." She gestured at the pot. "Because I care about him. Because I've been trying to show him I'm interested for weeks while you've been playing your little fake girlfriend game." Her eyes cut to Jade. "A game that looks a lot less fake right now." "Pearl, it's not—" "Don't." Pearl held up a hand. "Don't lie to me. I walked in here and you were practically in his lap. I was feeding him soup. With your face? How did you even get in?" Theo's voice cut through the tension, and he was standing now, swaying slightly, but his presence still filled the room. Despite the sickness, his eyes were sharp. "Edmund let me in," Pearl said, tossing her hair. "Your butler. He used to work for my family before he came to you. We go way back. I'll be having a conversation with Edmund about boundaries." "Don't blame him." Pearl stepped closer, her heels clicking against the marble floor. "Blame her." She pointed at Jade. "I thought you said the relationship was fake. I thought you said there were no feelings. You looked me in the eyes in that bathroom and told me it was just business." "It is just business," Jade said, but even she could hear how weak it sounded. "Really?" Pearl laughed bitterly. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you've been playing me this whole time, pretending to be my friend while you steal my man behind my back." "Your man?" Theo's voice went cold. Ice cold. "Since when did that happen?" Pearl turned to him, her expression instantly shifting from fury to honey-sweet. "Theo, baby, you don't understand. Don't call me baby." Each word was precise, cutting. "I have never given you any indication that I'm interested in you. Not a single one, not ever. But I thought, the connection." "What connection?" Theo's jaw tightened. "You didn't even show up to our blind date. You sent someone else to sabotage it instead of having a 5-minute conversation with me like an adult." Pearl's face reddened. "I didn't know you looked like..." "Like what? Like someone worth your time?" He laughed, but there was no humor in it. "So, if I'd been unattractive, your scheme would have been justified? That tells me everything I need to know about your character, Miss DeAndre." "Theo, I was never yours." His voice softened, but somehow that made it worse. "And I was never going to be. You built a fantasy in your head and got angry when reality didn't match it." Pearl's eyes welled with tears. For a moment, just a moment, Jade felt bad for her. Then Pearl turned to her, and all that softness turned to venom. "This is your fault," Pearl hissed. "You were supposed to scare him off. You were supposed to make him hate you. That was the deal. I paid you $5,000. You paid me to go on one date and be terrible. I did that. And then you kept him for yourself." "I didn't keep anyone. He blackmailed me." "Oh, so now you're the victim?" Pearl laughed wildly. Poor little Jade from Inglewood, forced to date a billionaire, forced to wear designer clothes and go to fancy parties. What a hardship. "You have no idea what..." "I know exactly what you are." Pearl's voice dropped low. "Dangerous. You're a gold digger. You always have been. You latched onto me because of my money, my connections, my lifestyle, and now you've found a bigger fish." "That's not true, isn't it?" Pearl stepped closer. "Everything with you is about money, Jade. You took my money for the blind date. You took his money for the fake relationship. You took his money for your brother's tuition." Jade flinched. "Oh, I know about that." Pearl smiled coldly. "I know about all of it. The bed, the tuition, the little gifts. You've been running a scam this whole time, and I was too stupid to see it." "Pearl, that's enough." Theo moved to stand beside Jade. "I think you should leave." "You're choosing her?" Pearl's voice cracked. "A broke girl from the South Side, a secretary, over me, over everything my family could offer yours?" "I'm choosing the woman who sees me as a person," Theo said quietly. "Not as a prize, not as a bank account, not as a way to climb some social ladder." His hand found Jade's, squeezed. "I'm choosing her." Pearl stared at them, at their joined hands. At the united front they presented. Something in her expression shifted. The hurt drained away. What replaced it was worse. Cold, calculating, empty. "I thought you were my friend," Pearl said to Jade. Her voice was flat now, emotionless. "I trusted you. I helped you when your mother died. I paid for her funeral. I gave you money when you had nothing. Pearl, our friendship was never about..." "Wasn't it?" Pearl picked up her pot of soup. "Everything with you has always been about what I could give you, and I was too naive to see it." She walked toward the door. "Pearl, wait. You know what?" Pearl paused in the doorway, turned back. That cold smile was back. "Keep him. Enjoy your little romance. You deserve each other." She looked at Theo. "But don't think for a second this is over. If I don't get what I want, the world burns." The door slammed behind her. The sound echoed through the penthouse. Silence followed. Heavy, suffocating. Jade stood frozen, her hands still in Theo's, her mind racing. Don't think for a second that this is over. What did that mean? What was Pearl going to do? Jade. Theo's voice was gentle. He tugged her hand, turning her to face him. Are you okay? I don't know. Her voice came out small. I've known her since high school. She was my best friend, my only real friend. I'm sorry. Don't be. You didn't do anything wrong. Jade pulled her hand away, suddenly needing space. I should go. Jade, I need to think. I need to process. She grabbed her coat. I'll call you tomorrow, okay? Just rest. Get better. I'll handle whatever this is. She left before he could stop her. 2 days later, Pearl unleashed chaos. Jade's attempts to explain herself, to apologize for hurting her, fell on deaf ears. I'm going to expose you, Pearl screamed at her. No amount of begging will stop it. The story broke on a Tuesday morning. Jade woke up to her phone exploding. Text messages, missed calls, social media notifications, all of it pouring in like a flood. She grabbed her phone with bleary eyes and squinted at the screen. Her stomach dropped through the floor. Billionaire CEO's fake girlfriend exposed. The $5,000 scheme that fooled Chicago's elite. She clicked the article with shaking hands. There were photos, the rainbow wig, the Barbie shirt, the feet on the table. Someone had been taking pictures at that restaurant. Someone had saved them. And now they were everywhere. The article laid out the entire story. How Pearl DeAndre had paid Jade $5,000 to sabotage a blind date. How Jade had shown up in disguise and deliberately acted repulsive. How Theo had discovered her identity and allegedly blackmailed her into a fake relationship. The entire romance was a transaction, the article read. Nothing more. Chicago's most eligible billionaire was being played, and his family had no idea. The source was anonymous, but Jade knew. Pearl. This was Pearl's revenge. Jade's phone rang. Theo. She didn't answer. It rang again, and again. Then a text. Don't read the news. Don't talk to anyone. I'm handling it. And Jade. I'm sorry for everything. She turned off her phone and crawled back into bed. The next 3 days, Jade didn't leave her apartment. She couldn't. Reporters were camped outside her building. Her phone rang constantly with calls from numbers she didn't recognize. Her social media, which she'd barely used before, was flooded with comments. Most of them were cruel. Gold digger, scammer, ugly and broke. No wonder she had to trick him. She put her feet on his table? Disgusting. Kendrick tried to help. He brought her food she didn't eat, made jokes she didn't laugh at, told her it would blow over, but she could see the worry in his eyes. Maybe you should talk to him, Kendrick said on the 3rd day. He's called like 40 times. And say what? I don't know. Whatever people say when their fake relationship gets exposed in a public scandal? Jade threw a pillow at him. But she didn't call Theo. She didn't know what to say. Everything felt ruined. The job, the relationship, whatever fragile thing they'd been building together. All of it, gone. Because of Pearl. Because of her. Because she'd agreed to this stupid scheme in the first place. By day 4, she got a knock at the door. Jade ignored it. The knock came again. Harder. Jade. Theo's voice, muffled through the wood. I know you're in there. She didn't move. I'm not leaving. His voice was steady, patient. I'll stand here all day if I have to. I'll sleep in this hallway. I'll become best friends with your neighbor who keeps peeking through her door at me. Silence. I brought soup. Your mama's recipe. I had my chef try to recreate it. A pause. It's probably terrible. You should come out here and tell me how bad it is. Despite everything, Jade felt her lips twitch. Damn him. She got up and opened the door. Theo stood in the hallway of her building, looking completely out of place. Designer coat over what she suspected was a designer sweater over designer everything, holding a pot of soup like it was a peace offering. He looked tired, circles under his eyes, stubble on his jaw that suggested he hadn't been sleeping either. But he was here. "Hi," he said. "Hi. Can I come in?" She stepped aside. He walked past her into the apartment, set the soup on the counter, turned to face her. "Oh, I handled it," he said. "Handled what?" "The story, the scandal, all of it." He pulled out his phone and showed her a headline. "Theo Max addresses fake girlfriend scandal. Our relationship started unconventionally, but my feelings are absolutely real." Jade stared at the screen. "You made a statement?" "A full press conference, this morning." "Saying what?" "The truth." His eyes held hers. "All of it. How we met. How I blackmailed you. How I was the one who manipulated you into this arrangement, not the other way around." "Theo, you told them you blackmailed me?" "I told them exactly what happened. That I discovered your identity and used it as leverage. That I forced you into a fake relationship against your will." He put his phone away. "I also told them that somewhere along the way I started catching real feelings, and that part was never fake." Jade's heart stuttered. "Oz, your reputation means nothing if I lose you." The words hit her like a wave. "My grandfather called me after the press conference," Theo continued. "You know what he said?" "What?" "He said, 'Finally, you're acting like a man who knows what matters.'" Theo smiled slightly. "Then he asked when you were coming to dinner. Apparently you're still his favorite person I've ever brought home." "But I lied to your family. I pretended to be someone I wasn't." "You pretended to be my girlfriend, and then you became my girlfriend." He stepped closer. "The only thing fake about us was the beginning. Everything after that. The conversations, the dinners, the night you stayed up talking to me about your mother, the morning you made me soup when I was sick. That was real." Jade's eyes burned. "Pearl was my best friend," she said quietly. "And now she's gone. And everyone thinks I'm a gold digger and a scammer and—" "Pearl was never your friend." Theo's voice was gentle but firm. "Real friends don't try to destroy you when they don't get what they want. Real friends don't sell your secrets to the press out of spite." "I know, but nothing." He reached out and took her hands. "Jade, you have spent your entire life taking care of everyone else. Your mother when she was sick, your brother and his education, Pearl and her ridiculous schemes. When is someone going to take care of you? I don't need—" "Yes, you do. Everyone does." He squeezed her hands. "Let me be that person. Let me take care of you. Not because of an arrangement, not because of a deal, because I want to, because I—" He took a breath. "Because I love you." Jade's heart stopped. "I know I don't deserve another chance," Theo continued. "I know I did everything wrong from the beginning. I manipulated you. I used your circumstances against you. I put you in an impossible position." His voice cracked slightly. "But if you'll let me, I want to do it right this time. No arrangements, no pretending, no business deals." He lifted her hands to his lips, kissed her knuckles. "Just us. If you think Jade should give this man another chance, comment, 'She better say yes.' And if you're crying right now, comment, 'I'm not okay.' Now hit that like button because we're almost at the end." Jade looked at this man, this impossible, infuriating, unbeautiful man who had turned her life upside down in ways she never expected. She thought about everything they'd been through: the disaster date, the rainbow wig, the dishwater feat that she would never, ever live down, the blackmail that had turned into late-night conversations, the fake touches that had started to feel real, the way he looked at her when he thought she wasn't paying attention, the way he'd played video games with her brother, bought Kendrick a bed without being asked, paid tuition without expecting anything in return. The way he'd laid in her mother's quilt and told her about his father, about his fears, about the loneliness he'd carried his whole life. She thought about Pearl, about how the person she'd called her best friend had tried to destroy her out of jealousy. How Pearl had taken every secret, every vulnerability, every moment of trust, and turned it into a weapon. And she thought about what her mama always used to say. Baby, the right person won't just see you, they'll choose you, every single day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Theo was choosing her, even now, even after everything. He was standing in her tiny apartment in Inglewood, wearing clothes that cost more than her furniture, holding her hands like she was the most precious thing he'd ever touched. Jade was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled. The soup your chef made is probably terrible. Almost certainly. I'll have to teach him the real recipe. Does that mean... It means... Jade stepped closer. Close enough to feel his warmth. Close enough to see the gold flecks in his dark eyes. You get one more chance, Theo Max. Just one. Don't waste it. I won't. His hands came up to cup her face. I swear I won't. And no more blackmail. No more blackmail. And you're eating dinner at my place at least once a week. Real food, made by actual humans who care about seasoning. I would love nothing more. And... He kissed her, cut her off mid-sentence and pressed his lips to hers. And oh. This was nothing like she'd imagined. It was better. His lips were soft but certain. He kissed her like she was precious, like she was oxygen, like he'd been waiting his entire life for this exact moment. Jade's hands fisted in his sweater, his arms wrapped around her waist, pulling her closer, and the world disappeared. It was just them. Just this. Just real. When they finally broke apart, they were both breathing hard. Sorry, Theo murmured against her lips. You were making too many demands. I had to shut you up. You're terrible. You're terrible. He smiled. But I love you that way. A lot changed in the following 6 months. Jade quit her job at Max Industries. Too weird to date your boss. But with some of the money she'd saved, and a large investment from Theo that she insisted on paying back with interest, she finally did it. She launched her makeup line, Cooper Beauty, custom foundations for every skin tone, products that actually worked for women who looked like her. Made with love in Chicago, shipped everywhere. It was small at first, just online sales, just word of mouth. But it grew. Beauty bloggers noticed, then magazines, then celebrities. Within 6 months, Cooper Beauty was in 3 major retail chains and expanding. Jade's face was on billboards. Her products were on shelves. Her dream was real. Kendrick graduated from UIC and started full-time at Max Industries. He was already being fast-tracked for management. Theo had offered to mentor him personally. I don't need special treatment because you're dating my sister, Kendrick had said. You're not getting special treatment, Theo had replied. You're getting appropriate treatment for your skills. The fact that your sister threatened to overspice my food if I mistreat you is entirely coincidental. They'd become friends. Real friends. Kendrick still beat Theo at video games every time they played. Theo still pretended it didn't bother him. It definitely bothered him. As for Pearl, Pearl had disappeared. Moved to New York according to the rumor mill. Started over somewhere no one knew about the scandal. Jade didn't hate her anymore. She just felt sad. Sad that their friendship had never been what she thought. Sad that Pearl had been so empty inside that she couldn't stand to see someone else happy. But Jade didn't dwell on it. She had too much good in her life now to focus on the bad. The proposal happened on a random Tuesday. Nothing special, no big occasion. Just a quiet dinner at Jade's apartment. Their apartment now, technically. And since Theo spent more nights here than at his penthouse. They'd finished eating and were washing dishes together, arguing about whose turn it was to scrub the pots, when Theo suddenly got very quiet. "What?" Jade asked. He was staring at her with an expression she couldn't read. "What's wrong? Do I have food on my face?" "No." He set down the dish he was holding. I need to ask you something." "Okay?" Theo reached into his pocket and pulled out a ring. Jade's brain stopped working. "I was going to do this at a fancy restaurant," Theo said. "I had the whole thing. But then I thought about us, about how we started, about the rainbow wig and the dishwater feet and the way you made me laugh so hard for the first time in years. If you mention the feet in your proposal, I'm saying no. Let me finish." He took her hands, soapy from the dishes, but he didn't seem to care. "I thought about how nothing with us has ever been traditional. Nothing has been planned or perfect or the way it's supposed to be." He got down on one knee, on the kitchen floor of her tiny apartment in Englewood. "Jade Cooper," he said, "you are the funniest, most frustrating, stubborn, brilliant, beautiful woman I have ever met. You're far from the elegant women in my circle, and maybe that's exactly why I love you. You've been real. Even when you realized who I was, you didn't start kissing my feet. You weren't afraid to show your anger if I made you upset, or tell me straight up what I was doing or thinking wrong." His voice cracked slightly. "I want you, exactly as you are, for the rest of my life." He held up the ring. "Will you marry me?" Jade looked at the ring, then at him, then at the ring again. "You're proposing in my kitchen," she said. "Yes." "With dish soap on my hands." "Also, yes." "This is very on brand for us." "I thought so." He was smiling, but his eyes were nervous. "Is that a yes?" Jade pretended to think about it. "I guess I don't have any other options." "That's not a yes." "Fine." She grabbed his face and kissed him. Hard. "Yes, it's a yes. Of course it's a yes." Theo slid the ring onto her finger. It fit perfectly. "I had Kendrick help with the size," he admitted. "That little snitch. He's very easy to bribe. I promised him a promotion." Jade laughed, looking at the ring sparkling on her hand. "I can't believe this is my life," she whispered. "Believe it." Theo pulled her close, "because it's only going to get better from here." They got married in Grandfather Augustus's garden. Small, intimate, only the people who mattered. Jade wore a gorgeous wedding gown that Kendrick had insisted on paying for as his gift to her. He'd an upcoming designer customize the dress. She looked like a princess. Her hair was in an elegant crown braid with gold thread and fresh flowers. Kendrick walked her down the aisle. He cried the entire time. "You're embarrassing me," Jade whispered. "I don't care." He wiped his eyes with his sleeve. "My sister is getting married to a billionaire who respects her. I'm emotional." "Because he's a billionaire or because he respects me?" Kendrick sniffed. "Both." Theo waited at the altar, looking at her like she hung the moon and every star around it. Grandfather Augustus sat in the front row, but already shouting about great-grandchildren before the ceremony even started. Theo's mother had helped with the flowers. Brianne was a bridesmaid. Everyone who mattered was there. When they exchanged vows, Jade said, "I promise to always make you soup when you're sick, even when you're being stubborn about it. I promise to call you out when you're being a workaholic. To remind you that you're more than your company, your money, or your name." She smiled through her tears. "And I promise to never, ever put my feet on your table again, unless you really deserve it." The guests laughed. Theo said, "I promise to always see you, the real you, the you that showed up to our first date looking like a rainbow exploded on her and still managed to make me fall in love." He took her hands. "I promise to choose you, every single day, in every way, for the rest of my life. And when that life is over, I'll find you in the next one and choose you again." Jade burst into tears. "That's cheating," she managed. "You can't make me cry at my own wedding." Too late. They kissed. The crowd cheered. And somewhere in the back, Grandfather Augustus was already placing bets on how soon the first baby would arrive. 2 years later, Jade stood in the bathroom of their new house, a beautiful brownstone in Bronzeville that they'd bought together, staring at a pregnancy test. 2 pink lines. She walked out to the living room. Theo was on the couch, reviewing something on his tablet. Kendrick was in the armchair, arguing with him about some coding thing Jade didn't understand. "Hey," she said. Theo looked up. "Hey, everything okay?" "Everything's great." She held up the test. "But you might want to call your grandfather." Theo stared at it, then at her, then at the test again. "Is that 2 lines means positive? We're having a baby? We're having a baby." Theo was across the room in 2 seconds, sweeping her into his arms and spinning her around. "We're having a baby," he shouted. "I'm gonna be an uncle." Kendrick jumped up so fast he knocked over a lamp. "Wait until I tell Grandfather Augustus he's gonna lose his mind." The living room erupted into chaos. Theo laughing and crying at the same time. Kendrick already on the phone with Augustus, who was audibly screaming on the other end. Jade standing in the middle of all of it, one hand on her belly, wondering how her life had gotten here. From broke girl in Englewood to this, from putting her feet on a billionaire's table to carrying his baby, from fake girlfriend to real wife. It was crazy. It was impossible. It was everything. Later that night, after the chaos had settled, Jade lay in bed with Theo's hand resting on her stomach. You know what I was thinking about?" she murmured. "What?" "That first date, the rainbow wig, the lipstick on my teeth." She laughed softly. "If someone had told me then that I'd end up here, I would have put my feet on their table too." It was very memorable footwear. Don't start. I'm just saying, I've never forgotten the smell. I hate you. You love me. Unfortunately. She turned to face him. Thank you. For what? For not running when you should have. For seeing me when I was trying so hard not to be seen. She touched his face. For choosing me, even when I made it really hard. Theo kissed her forehead. Thank you for being worth choosing. They fell asleep tangled together. 2 people who started with everything wrong and ended up with everything right. And that, beautiful people, is the end of Jade and Theo's story. It's a story about a broke girl from Englewood who put her stinky feet on a billionaire's table and accidentally made him fall in love with her. But more than that, it's a story about something we all need to hear. Jade found love. In the most unexpected place. In the most unexpected way. And you will too. Just be patient, be real, and never ever put your feet on someone's table. Unless it leads to true love. Then maybe consider it. Consider your likes, on comments and subscribes as wedding gifts for Theo and Jade. And if you want to get baby shower presents for baby Max, please join our channel membership. Thank you for riding with this story from the beginning to the very end. You are the reason we do this. You are the reason these stories exist. Until next time, fam.